go. It's going to be a beautiful day because I woke up feeling beautiful.
I wanna wake up feeling beautiful. I wanna wake up with the sunlight in my eyes and your arms surrounding me. I wanna wake up feeling beautiful. That's how I wanna be. I wanna wake up with a song in my heart. I wanna wake up with a song in my heart and the joy in my eyes. I wanna wake up feeling beautiful. I wanna wake up, you and me are the perfect match that could ever be. Wake up feeling beautiful. I wanna wake up feeling beautiful with you.
You. Yes, yes, yes. That song, that song. You know what? Welcome in. It's coffee break time with Senabella, and I am your host. If you haven't met me, it is my pleasure to be here with you. So let's get started this morning because there are some wonderful things on our program today that we're going to be discussing. It's all about civic engagement, community, and our dedication as human beings in improving the environments and the communities that we come from. Now, let me tell you something. It's something that I've always been very passionate about. My mother, when we grew up, was a community person. My father was more the laid back, fun loving guy in the background and took care of the business. But my mother, let me just put this out there. She was that community person. And she got up every day and launched her vision with her children. And all 14 of us had to play to the rhythm of her beat. And so, with that music being in our heads, we saw her go through the life that she had cultivated, being a mother with so much going on at home. She was a woman who was young and aspired to become more. She wanted to become part of more than just being a mother and a woman. She wanted to see herself in action. And that action became part of the communities that we lived in. And in Bronzeville, there was a vibrant, rich community base where there were a lot of things going on. And right at Grove and 45th Street is where we lived. And my mother got us up and we went to school, and we went to separate schools. There was so many of us, she gave us a choice. And so we had an opportunity to know what it's like to make choices early. And so I raised my hand and I went to Holy Angels along with several other siblings. And the rest of my siblings went over to Forestville and different other schools that were in the area. Woodson, Forestville, and if you've been in Chicago South Side and you lived in Bronzeville, you know what I'm talking about. I'm sure everyone has many stories as it relates to those kind of things. So um, keep going forward. I don't want to get lost because now my mind is cultivating all of the rich activity that went on in our home and in our neighborhoods then. And those things really helped to give us a sense of who we were, structure, and everything that we were doing in our life. And our mother grounded us in that. The principles in our house was education, articulation, right? Standing up strong, becoming something that was viable so that when we left our home, everybody knew that we were a model of what our parents had taught us, what they were instructing us to do. And we didn't have a choice. We didn't have a choice. And so today's guest, Bill Morton, we're going to speak to him and talk to him about how he became established as this person, as a lifelong Chicagoan, and the many ventures that he's taken on and what he's done, and how that fits into the structure as we go about building this brand new world that we so earnestly need. We need a brand new world, and it takes strong, dedicated, civic minded, good hearted, intentional people who are not just talking about being something, but have lived their life and have taken it as a model from some structure that's been around them, whether it's been family or community or some good-hearted person that pulled them to the side and turned them into this individual that we would come to know. And so I speak of my family lovingly this morning as I think about the many times my mother left the house to go and work in the schools and go and work in the community and to help us to understand that activism was the way forward. Education was the way to plan and to grow. And that dedication had to be something higher than just a word or something. It had to be something that was much more intrinsic and valued in spirit. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Bill Morton just before I bring him on, and then we're going to invite him into the room. This is Coffee Break. I hope you're having a good morning. Check out my cup. Yes, yes. It's a cat thing for me. And of course, my two kitties are running around waiting for me to get them on camera. It's not going to happen this morning. They'll probably take over. Anyway, Bill Morton is a lifelong Chicagoan. He's dedicated much of his life to bringing people together and strengthening community voices through public service, local media, and civic engagement. After making Rogers Park his home, Bill immersed himself in neighborhood life, believing that informed and connected residents are the foundation of a strong community. For more than 15 years, Bill has served as president of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, where he has worked alongside local businesses, nonprofit organizations, and community leaders to promote economic development and neighborhood collaboration. He also serves as vice chair of the local school council at Gale Community Academy, helping support students, families, and one of Rogers Park's neighborhood schools. Now, that's a lot already, and I can tell you right now that I am going to keep on talking about because I have so much I want to say about Bill. I only met him right here on the internet. I always tell people, if you want to meet new people and find out who they are, this is where you're going to find them. So he recognized the need for trusted places where neighborhoods could connect. So Bill founded the Rogers Park News, which has grown into one of Chicago's largest neighborhood online communities. Every day, thousands of residents rely on the platform for local news, public safety, information, neighborhood events, and community resources. I'm telling you, he's doing his job, isn't he? He is on it. Now, Bill's passion for conversation and storytelling naturally led him into broadcasting. He's the host of Sunday Morning with Bill Morton on WLUW 88.7 FM and longtime producer and host of Community Unity now on CAN-TV. And CAN-TV is coming back, baby. You better believe it. Through hundreds of interviews, he has welcomed elected officials, educators, artists, entrepreneurs, nonprofit leaders, and everyday residents to discuss the issues, ideas, and people shaping Chicago. I don't want to delay it much further. We're going to bring him to the room. Put your hands together and let's get ready to have a conversation with Bill Morton. Are you all ready? Because I am. And as he comes into the room, we're going to put a couple of comments on it. And of course, we have our beautiful sky capture photographer, videographer, JJ in the morning. Good morning. Good morning. And adding to the stage, we have, oh, you ready? Look at that. So he is running for alderman of the 49th Ward. And I love how you captured that. Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. So happy to be here. It's been a long time coming.
It has been. I've spent the last year with you coming into my program, into Coffee Break, and just supporting me. And I said to myself, who is this guy? But I had met you before. I'd actually come to Rogers Park with Bobby Irving, and we did a New Year's Eve kind of thing with you, right? And so I got a chance to meet you. And then Trudy Leong, who is your partner, right? And she's your girl, right?
Yep.
She's your partner. And she's on Wizard WZRD 88.3 FM at Northeastern Illinois University, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, she's amazing. I couldn't do it without her.
You know what? That's the blessing, right? When we've had captured someone's attention who wants to pay attention to us, right? And that we can couple up with and become a strong force du jour. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So here you are, and you look actually much younger in person today than I've seen you. Every time I see you, you look a little different. I don't know, what can we say about that? You're aging backwards.
Well, I don't know.
You
I'm
know,
I'm out. I'm moving around and doing my thing. And you may have seen like a photo of me, doing something. Sometimes things are stressful. Sometimes times are different, and it might have been around that time, maybe. Maybe the time when I was at Clark Manor, recovering.
right. Well, you're saying you're using the word recovery. I want to tell everyone and share with everyone if they don't know, is that you had a really critical accident that changed your life last year, right in the midst of my coming to know you and see you as a constant in the mornings on Friday. I come up on a post that I think Trudy posted it, or you did, that there had been an accident that changed your life. And not only that, but through the process, you lost your father. That's
Yeah,
quite a
yeah.
traumatic.
It was about a year ago. It was about a year ago. It was August 13th of last year, and I was actually I was heading to a meeting and to speak on ADA accessibility. It was a CTA board meeting, and as I was going up the stairs, I slipped or something, and I broke my fibula at the top and the bottom. Um, I dislocated my ankles, my foot. My foot was like backwards in some way it shouldn't be, and my leg was kind of that way. And I ended up upside down on the stairs at Jarvis Station, Rogers Park. There was water on the floor, and there are a lot of different things going on with that. But they had to call 911. They had to cut my pants off me. They had to cut my shoe off. They had to bring me to St. Francis Hospital. And I was going to the CTA board meeting. I was on my way to speak on ADA accessibility and all CTA lines, especially Morse and Jarvis stations, um, elevators and escalators, including elevators, escalators, and wider platforms.
Wait a
And
minute.
and
You were
it
on your
happened to me.
you were on your way.
Mhm.
Oh my God.
I was on my way to advocate for those who needed it, and I became one who needed it.
That's truly an amazing and inspiring story, is that you're standing here today. You're right here. You're here with us on this show. And how long has it been? Has it been a year yet?
It's almost a year. It happened on August 13th.
So you're actively walking around, moving around, doing better today.
I am. I had to get the emergency bilateral surgery on my leg and my ankle. I'm certain part of my ankle is no longer there. I had to get the plates, the bilateral. They had to cut, this side and do open me up. And then I got a plate like over here. Let me just turn that down. And I got like screws over here. And then my ligament here was torn, so they put two screws to hold it in place. And the ligament is the part I'm having an issue with at this point still. It
Bill,
takes about a year to heal, they said.
you're remarkable. I mean, whew, just hearing that, I'm trying to relate to it from a place that doesn't leave me feeling like I do at this moment. I can't imagine what that has been like for you, but then you lost your father all in the process.
I was in the nursing home. I I, I was asked. I got 6 days at St. Francis, and I was on the Dilaudid, the IV, because I needed it. I was at a 10 all the time. I was at top 10 pain level. It wouldn't go away, and the Dilaudid would kind of curb it a little bit for a little while, and then they had to wait. I had to be in pain until they could, give me more. I wasn't on a drip or anything. They had to time it so I didn't have too much of it. And it makes you dizzy. It makes these things happen. I think it's a derivative of morphine. I asked not to have morphine because I just didn't want morphine. And Dilaudid is like morphine. It's pretty much the same thing, maybe a little bit weaker. And they kept me there 6 days because they needed me to manage they needed to work on my pain management after the surgery, and they just couldn't do it. and they couldn't keep me over 6 days. So they asked me where to go, and I chose Clark Manor because it's in Rogers Park, and
Yes.
the facility is right next to where Trudy works at the Jewel on
Wow.
Howard Street.
Wow. So that was like a great choice because it gave some convenience to her assisting and being there for you.
Yeah, and I chose it because so she could come over and she could advocate for me. I knew I wasn't with it. I was on heavy medication. They had me on narcotics. They had me on gabapentin and Norco and all this other stuff. And I knew I wasn't with it at the time. And I
Mhm.
was bedbound. I couldn't even even to just move a little bit was a 10.
Wow.
So I needed somebody to advocate for me. And she came after work every single day after work for 6 months straight to
Wow.
visit me and make sure I'm all right, making sure I'm not taken advantage of in any kind of way, and to give me some real food and some real love.
Well, you were blessed with the right partner. And let me also say, even though these are horrendous circumstances you're talking about, you're blessed with the right consciousness because here you are on your way to advocate for disability, to make sure that those who would have to take the trains, the buses, and what have you, there in Rogers Park in particular, right, would have
Hmm.
accessibility and that they wouldn't have to be burdened with how. And now you're burdened with how do you recover. So that's a lot. I mean, I didn't realize we'd be talking about it this much because I don't think we've ever really discussed it. But even during that period, you got back to work. You started doing things again. So from your bed, from recovery, you go back on the radio. You began to work with Trudy, and she's really got to be some inspiration, like a power pack woman, because you just jumped right back on in and all that love and consideration and your own state of mind, which our state of mind is why we may heal, is why we may recover, right? And may do
Hmm.
it better. What do you think of that? How do you speak to that and what I just spoke of? What kind of focus,
Well,
what kind of mind do you
I,
have?
I kind of I kind of was in a state, but I can't lay around. I can't just lay around. I was in such pain, and for a period of time, I couldn't do anything. All I did was sleep to avoid the pain. I took the drugs and I slept and I ate and I drank water and I looked out the window and that was all I had. I'm usually out walking around. I walk fast. I used to walk fast. I
Mm,
used to walk everywhere. I used to take public transportation everywhere. I'm
mm,
not, I'm a pedestrian and I'm walking my neighborhood and walking the city for miles every single day, visiting people and doing all these different things and interacting, whether it be like the CTA meeting or just neighbors around town and or the businesses. And I lost that. I
mm.
totally lost. So I had to do something.
Well, were you able to become inspired by the very work that you had put in before this happened? Did that consciousness give you lift and provide a place where you could start looking at where you would rebound into instead of away from?
Well, I got to reflect. I had a lot of time to reflect. I had 6 months at the Clark Manor nursing home, and I got to speak with the people and see what their lifestyle is,
Mm,
see what they're going through. And Clark Manor is one of those places where if you're running for office or if you're with the Chamber of Commerce, it's not one of the places that's easier to get into in the neighborhood. They intentionally make it harder to visit. Even now, it's hard to visit my friends I made over there.
mm,
It's kind of a closed community, and so just the contrast of where I was, from what I was doing,
mm,
and the responsibilities were still there. And so I did whatever I could. I know Trudy had a Herculean task to not only do what she was doing, working full time at Jewel, running the Chamber of Commerce, running the radio shows, the television show on CAN TV, and then she's also taking care of my dog, and
mm.
she's coming over to help me, and all of this. I mean, she got no sleep.
Nothing like a
She
good
ran
woman.
herself down for 6 months.
Nothing like a good woman. Nothing like a good woman. I can speak to that. Nothing like having a great partner and a good woman in particular, because you're gonna get fed, you're gonna get loved, everything that you have. She's gonna take the broom and sweep everything up and take out the trash and do it all. So kudos to Trudy, sending out
And
much
she
love.
she motivated me. She motivated me to get up, get back to work, and get things going. Get back to she like make the calls, and I don't know, I'm here. I don't feel it, and we did it. We did it. So
Well, there's so much more to you, Bill. You you're what have you done in the Chamber of Commerce to date that you can speak to that gives you lift and tells you that you're not just for Rogers Park, but you're helping improve Rogers Park? What are some of those things?
right, right. I'm not just running for Rogers Park. I am Rogers Park. I'm a big part of Rogers Park. I've helped save some businesses throughout my time. I've been around here since like 2005 or so. I tried to save the Adelphi Theater on Clark and Estes. That's when I first started. I didn't even know anything about politics.
Say the name of the theater again.
Adelphi. It was at Clark and Estes.
Mm-hmm.
Adelphi, and it was a 1917 vaudeville theater, and it was art deco style. You had the ornamentation, you had the ushers in the floor, and you had all of this beautiful, and then they turned it into a single screen movie theater. And being there for 2.5 years, renovating the place and trying to reopen it and hosting fundraisers and things, and working with people, a lot of volunteers who are helping to fix the place up. That was really my start. I was working at a local business, an internet cafe, computer repair shop, but the Adelphi Theater was really where I got activated.
Mm. You can see the future.
Yeah, I learned. I learned there.
Part of you said if we could do this, we could do a lot more, right?
Excuse me.
I said it had to be that if you can do this, I can do a lot more, right?
And that's when I decided that I wanted to be more active in the community.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that if I couldn't, if I put 2.5 years of my life in here, and all the community came together, and it still got torn down, and it was such a beautiful work of an artist, um, and I
Yeah.
loved it. Everyone loved it, and if that can get torn down, then something needs to change.
Is that the same theater that SAG-AFTRA holds their awards? The Delphi on Clark, you said, right?
Well, no, I don't think there were any awards there. It was vaudeville, then it was like movies, and
Right, right.
Barbara Stanwyck signed the basement down there. It was like old time stuff. And
Yes.
Rogers Park really used to be a cool place with Charlie Chaplin and all of them, the silent films. Um, Hollywood, I think it's Hollywood Boulevard, Hollywood over in Edgewater is the base, was the creation of Hollywood in California.
Mm-hmm. Look at you.
So
You have all the history. So it says
yeah,
Bill's passion for conversation and storytelling naturally led him into broadcasting. So were you in broadcasting at the time that this happened? When did that happen? When
no,
did
no, I wasn't. At the Internet Cafe, it's kind of fun. It was called Quest Network Services. It's no longer at that location, and it was one of my school friends from junior high school, and I moved to Rogers Park because it was affordable, and I love the high ceilings and the old ornamentation and the mantles and the cloth tubs and the tiles and everything, and I was like, okay, and I loved the close proximity to the lake and all this other stuff. And I didn't know the people, I didn't know the climate, I didn't know anything. Um, but I was working at this internet cafe, and he had an internet radio station. And so it was just little thing. But we used to do that together, and that was a lot of fun. And then I met a radio promoter, Kate Smith of Kate Smith Promotions. She lived in Rogers Park at the time, and she lived on Jarvis, and she knew I was in a band in the past. I was in a rock band. I had the long hair, like maybe blue or something
Are
at the
you
time. and I was wearing the metal t-shirts, heavy metal t-shirts and things at the time. And she took me under her wing. She taught me the business. She really, she gave me a job.
Mhm.
And so I got to meet with jazz artists and world artists and Latin fusion, all kinds. It opened my mind in my life into the different kinds of music,
So
and that was kind of like where radio came from.
I'm trying to figure out where you get all this energy from, because now you're talking about uh, just so many aspects of what it is that you do. You do radio, you do canned TV. It says you interviewed thousands, hundreds of people, from educators, artists, entrepreneurs, nonprofit leaders, elected officials, you name it. And you are shaping Chicago through these here efforts that you put out, this work that you've done. Um, where would you say Rogers Park sits now in terms of its a viability, its welcoming source? First of all, let me just clarify. I lived in Rogers Park myself for a year. Loved it. But I was right at the beach, so it was easy to love. And I love being able to walk from the beach down right over to Sheridan, and to take advantage of all the beautiful eateries and just the walk, piece of being in Rogers Park. Rogers Park is a very welcoming neighborhood. But that year down there, it meant a lot to me. It really gave me a healing that I needed, being able to walk over to the beach and to walk up and down that beach every morning, and to be part of the activity that goes on, which is very artistic and creative in Rogers Park. In fact, Cherie Smith, who is a very dear friend of mine, she lives down in Rogers Park too. She's an artist, and she's been on my show, Coffee Break.
Rogers
So,
Park is wonderful. I volunteered for the Artist of the Wall Festival, and we love our murals, and now we've got these sculptures coming in. My office, our chamber office, we wanted to support the arts. Our second Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce office was at the Rogers Park Art Gallery for a little bit on Glenwood Avenue, Glenwood and Farwell, and we had the little basement. And the artists were doing their art in the base. It was like an unfinished, like horrible Freddy Krueger style basement down there. It was horrible. But we were down there, and we were with the artists, which was the cool part about it. And every day we're interacting with the artists, doing our Chamber of Commerce thing.
yeah. Rogers Park is one of the rare neighborhoods that exists that all people feel welcome, no matter what your income levels are, no matter what your ethnicity is. It's a very diverse community. And right here, you have my beautiful sister Zelda saying, awesome story of survival, Bill. Met him years ago in Rogers Park when I was living on Howard and Paulina. Then again, while working at WGCI Radio, our own iconic chick sister had no idea of your suffering. Thank you for sharing, girl.
Thank you.
Oh, talk about going through things. What he's saying to me is what Mushim Sut was talking about yesterday. We self-realize where we want to be. We put it in our head. It's a container, and then we promote and import ourselves to that in order to get well, in order to stand up into something that seems insurmountable. And you certainly have seemed to have done that. And she's right. We need more people like you. So now you're running for alderman,
Thank you.
and what's that looking like for you? I mean, how can you take? I guess when you run for alderman, everything you're doing, you're going to be doing that, but at another level. How being an alderman, how is being an alderman going to help you to not just advocate, but to actually realize some of the things that you see that Rogers Park needs?
Well, I started as a resident, and I became a community activist. And then, we formed the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce in 2009. And I've lived here the whole time. Sans during the pandemic, taking care of my dad in Norwood Park. But it's the next step. It's just the logical next step. And through each of these evolutions, from resident to activist to business owner or chamber president, I was able to accomplish more. I was able to do more good. I was able to help more people. And that's really what it's all about. I
Mhm.
see issues. We were talking about Howard and Paulina a little earlier. There are a lot of issues at Howard and Paulina right now. There's people who are suffering. There are people who are addicted to drugs. There's violence. There's a lot of stuff going on right by that Howard station, and that's a major public safety
It's very busy
point.
out there. You got the university and everything, so you have a lot going on. That's right at Rogers.
And Loyola University, they tell their students don't go anywhere north of Morse. Don't even go there. Not safe.
Wow.
So I've come to the understanding, through all these connections, all these meetings, all of these conversations over the years, all the studying of geography and everything of the neighborhood and the city, that there is a lot that can be done. And there's
Mhm.
a lot going on in the background that most people never see. And it's time. It's time to put a fix in there, fix these issues up. Public safety. People have health issues. People are looking for employment and they can't find it. People are getting kicked out of their house. There's a building management company in town, and they're buying up everything.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of our legacy Rogers Parkers, who are my friends and have always been, I mean, their stuff is getting thrown on the street.
Well, let me tell you
And
why I think your story is important, what you're sharing here today, because many communities here on the south side, the west side, you know, further north of you, are suffering from the same kind of collision of corporate buying up properties, taking over, coming in low, bringing in and changing the communities and pushing people out. So it's important to have someone who wants to be a part of making sure that those things can not only just happen for the betterment of the community, because they can be for the betterment to some degree, to a greater degree, but they have to be managed. And so tell
and,
me, I'm sorry,
mhm.
go ahead.
But also one more thing about that, it's not alderman just for the 49th ward. I'm running for 49th ward alderman, which includes most of Rogers Park. But it's not just a role of my community. As aldermen, we represent the entire city.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Say that again.
Aldermen represent the entire city, not just their ward.
I don't
They
think I.
all have a vote. There's 50 of them. There are 77 communities. There's 50 wards, and the aldermen all vote on things happening in other wards. So being an actually it's called alderperson now. Being an alderperson, um, it's a great responsibility, and I could positively not only affect the 49th ward, but maybe the 10th ward on the southeast side.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for that information. I'm not even aware of that. I'm glad you shared that with me today here with our audience. I don't know how many of us are aware of what an alderman's job is. I always think about things that are just to my community, that within my community, like do we have more garbage cans so people can drop their garbage into the cans and we don't have to see it scattered on the streets as we come out of our neighborhoods, out of our homes. I think about things like making sure the lights in the streets are lit well. That neighborhoods have new roads and sidewalks. I'm thinking about things like that, garbage collection, things that make a neighborhood feel like a neighborhood. Making sure that there are community meetings so that people in the neighborhood not only come because the alderman needs you to vote for or work with or show up, but also to just have some kind of moment when people can sit down and just talk to an alderman and say things to that alderman, specifically. And I realize now in just what you're sharing that the alderman's job is pretty huge. So how do people get close to aldermen? I'll let
Well, the things you mentioned were very local and very pragmatic, and I'm all about that. I'm tired of those rats. You cannot have rats in a building.
you.
You
Mhm.
cannot even those lead pipes. Even my apartment right here in Rogers Park, I've got mold on the wall, and
Mhm.
and the landlord doesn't want to take the time to demo the wall and get the real root of the mold out. and we're all going through these kinds of issues. So as aldermen, I would be able to listen, because listening is the most important part of the role.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I have so many different things that I would like changed. I
Mm-hmm.
have my own opinions. I have all of these things, but as I'm going around getting these petitions circulated, people are signing my petitions. More importantly, it gives me a chance to speak with our community, our neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of, I do mention some of the things I want to do, but I spend, I would say 80% of the time listening.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, public health, public safety, we need, people in government that's transparent, and different things like that. Office that's open all the time and will speak with everyone, not just a few, these kind of things. But then I said, but really what's important is what are your issues? What are your issues? And 80% of the time, I'm sitting there listening and taking notes.
You also supply local news through a newspaper. Is that still you? Are you still doing that?
Yes,
That's
yes.
wow. And then people are going there because they're relying on that information in order to say just know how to deal with things that are going on in their neighborhoods. It gives a sense of security and safety, and knowing there's more than one or two places that they can go to discuss what's happening with them. How much more
And,
secure are people shown or said to you that they feel with these things in place?
well, I think it's really, we've done it for maybe 6 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
And Trudy is the administrator as well. I'm an administrator, and Ari Paloma is the moderator. Thankfully, she volunteered for that. We chose her particularly, and she's in the community, in a different part of the community than where we're usually at, different perspective. And we get everything from lost cats and dogs to looking for a place to rent, issues with tenant landlord issues. How do I recommendations, which is and good news. So developments and zoning issues and politics and the upcoming elections, and all of this is like Rogers Park centric news on Rogers Park News. And we grew it up to like what is it now? 46,000 members. So it's not just a Facebook group or a news site. It is the Rogers Park hub.
Mm.
And we're all communicating together. I remember I used to like do all the posts when we started, because it is going to be a lot of work. Now, within an hour, we can have 20 posts to approve from all people around the neighborhood and around the city that want to know something about Rogers Park, or have a question or a concern or community issue.
Yeah, there is something very special about being a neighborhood at the water, right located at the water. You have Evanston right down the street from Rogers Park. It's hard to believe that Rogers Park is experiencing these kinds of things, and there's such a rich, vibrant Evanston not far from you. And then before that, you have what's the neighborhood that comes in before Rogers Park?
Well, we have Edgewater and Andersonville,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then on the west we have West Ridge.
yeah. And I think when we come through Sheridan Road, we don't sense what it is that you're saying that exists in your neighborhood. And so it's important to know that we all have something we have to kind of deal with, and that we have reliable people like yourselves and others like Trudy who are willing to jump right in and to roll the sleeves up and say, let's change and improve our neighborhoods, because that's what we need. We need that. So let me take a break, come back. I have a question for you in your return, and you can decide on whatever else next that you'd like to speak on if I've missed something and if I'm not touching on something. But stay right with us, folks. I just want to make sure that I do my homework properly. And we're going to talk about sharing clean energy. We can talk about that when we come back, too. We'll be right back. This is Senabella Coffee Break with Bill Morton. It's a beautiful morning, and I woke up feeling that way.
Have you seen all the solar farms popping up everywhere? You know, the big fields with the solar panels. There's one in our community. They produce electricity using the clean energy of the sun to send to the power grid to reduce our energy costs. Because not everybody can get solar panels put on their roof the way I have, but everybody can enroll for free to share the energy produced by the solar farms. That's where they were built. You know you're supposed to be getting a 10 to 20% savings on your bill for that, right? Illinois has a goal to transition by 2050 to 100% clean energy. So everybody needs to be connected. People in other communities are already getting their savings. So I'll be by to see you because they want to make sure you get your savings as well. It just takes a few minutes. I'm Naima Latif. Call me if you have any questions. 312-849-3456.
Well, we're right back. We've been having a really robust conversation with Bill. Look, Bill is on the job and he is doing the thing. Bill Morton out of Rogers Park, completely just healing his life in so many ways. It talks about the resilience and the wonderful advocacy that takes place when people like Bill decide to do something about who they are, where they live, care about the people in their communities and keep growing. So we'll bring back to the stage Bill Morton, and we're going to keep talking because we just came off of a break where our dear executive producer, Naima Latif, Dr. Latif, talked about clean energy. Is clean energy part of the new structure in Rogers Park? Is that something that you are advocating as well for, or is it already taking place?
Of course, of course. The environment. The environment is really what it's about. I would like to improve our recycling. And you know what I think is more important than recycling even
Mm-hmm.
is reuse. A lot of people discard reuse.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I think it was on WTTW. I think it was on another one. There were two different articles that came out in the same day about people who picked good things from the garbage, and either one of them made a business of it, like bringing it back. Another one had like this paddle boat that they found in the back of in the back of the alley, and they actually use it to go on the Chicago River and watch shows at the salt shed from the river
I love
for
it.
free.
I love that.
So it's not just clean energy, of course, but also other sustainable and environmental, like green roofs, solar, of course, and permeable surfaces and water barrels.
You just
That goes into like the metropolitan water reclamation district kind of area, but I want to work with them as well. And one thing I don't like is they put those red flags up on the lake, and that happens when the sewers overflow. And then that sewage, if it's an overflow, they dump some of it into the lake. So they're dumping toilets, they're dumping medications or the goldfish that was flushed down the toilets, and it's ending up in our lake. And there's a red flag, and people are trying to swim in that lake. People live on the lake. People are breathing that fresh air off that lake. And, I would like to put an end to that.
Wow, you've done a lot of work. I mean, you're sharing so much information. I imagine that because you're so well informed, because you're so aware, because people are communicating with you as well as you them, that drives your passion. What makes you the human being you are,
A lot of pain, a lot of experience and pain. Um, I'm a photographer as well and videographer. I like to do that, and I have an eye, and I like to look at different perspectives. I like to see it a different way. I like to highlight the things that are. I like to uncover the things that people don't normally see, or the perspectives.
though?
Um, and that really, I do that I've been doing that every day since I've been in Rogers Park.
Hmm.
Every single day, I either do a photos or a video or a tripod. I just have, nature or daily life. The car is going by, but after 20 years or so, it actually is categorized as vintage or historical. So it's kind of weird because I'm living in the present, and I still see this all as the present. But I was walking down the street the other day. Thankfully, I can walk again, and I was very sad because I see, I was gone for half a year, and I see businesses that closed. I see changes that I'm not fond of. I see people suffering on the streets. And I see all of these different things that really need to be changed. If you're the person who walks, if you're the person who sees the cracks in the sidewalk, if you're the person who sees the hazard hanging from the building ready to fall, or the tree that's got a chunk out of it, and the next derecho or whatever, all these trees are going to fall down. Um, it's a purpose. It really is a purpose to pinpoint what these issues, the real issues, sometimes small, sometimes very large, that would really make a difference in my community.
Let me ask a couple of questions because those are important points to talk about, to just discuss. A lot of times we don't think about who's cutting down the trees and making sure the things that you're speaking of are done. The alderman's job is pretty in depth based upon what I'm hearing you say. How do you? I forgot what I was about to ask. About to ask a direct question. It lost me. I lost it that quick, but I think that you're just touching on so many things that we're not so clear about that an alderman takes on, right? It's a
Well, I just want to be clear about this. The lake issue, and some of the permeable surfaces stuff is the water reclamation district. I also want to be very clear that cleaning of the trees and cleaning of the streets is Chicago Department of Streets and Sanitation. But I feel that I'm a connector, that I'm a natural connector. I connect people.
okay.
And as alderman, or as alderperson, 49th Ward alderperson, um, I will be meeting with streets and sanitation. That'll be my job. Listening to the community, looking for the issues proactively, which is something that alder people, I don't think they normally do unless they're really good. Proactively out there walking the streets,
Mhm.
talking to the people, and connecting people with what they need. If someone they're about to get kicked out of their apartment, there's a program that we give them, and we tell them, oh, here's where you go. If someone's battered on the street, they ask, oh, am I going to call 911 or what, and what's the next step? And maybe they do the police report, and maybe they don't see the detective. And
Mhm.
then I was just at the National Night Out 2 days ago, and I spoke with someone about this battery issue, which is serious. And I said, well, this is the situation, and we got this far. I said, oh, well, she gave me a flyer. She said, try this. This is something. This is something for people who are battered on the
Mhm.
street. It's like, wow, I never even heard of this resource. So like connecting people with the resources and listening to people and getting the jobs done.
Wow. Well, you're definitely a communicator. You're an activist. You're a person who's going to make sure things get done. And it seems that Rogers Park would be well managed with your care. And I certainly look forward to the celebration of you as the alderman of the 49th Ward, and that people not only see this, and we'll make sure we expand and push it out. But what is something that you'd like to say to share with people uh, about who you are and what you're doing and what you look forward to creating that will affect not just Rogers Park but the city of Chicago as a whole?
Yeah. I've been all around the city. I've seen it. I like to explore. Sometimes, I get on a train. I'm on my way to Can TV, and that's by, Roosevelt and Wood Street. Or I'm going to WLUW Water Tower campus over by the Water Tower in Pearson, or I'm visiting my friend, over in Lawndale, South Lawndale. I'm all over the neighborhood. I'm all over the city, and I've been for many years. And I just want to just say that I'm very observant. I'm thoughtful about these things, and I do care. And I like to know how things work, and I like to make things better. And I guess that's just the baseline there. And I couldn't do it without the people working with us, especially Trudy Leon.
That's saying a lot. So you're doing most of the work already. You're preparing yourself for the job that you're going to have. Um, you've been readying yourself in so many ways. Um, what else do you think you can do at this point that would help to impact, or how can we impact to
Well,
our
right
kids?
now, I'm a member of the IVI IPO, the Independent Voters of Illinois Independent Political Organization. I think that's what it is. IVI IPO, and they're really awesome. They've kind of they elected me as their national affairs director, and
Mhm.
I'm vice chair of the North chapter. It used to be the far North, and now it's just the North chapter. I'm vice chair. Also working with the well, actually, IVI IPO is got all these different things and about changing how people vote and what's going on with politics, and so I'm really getting into the weeds with them on that, and they are all about being in the weeds. They're looking at these really intense systems and how to change them for the better, including green initiatives.
Mhm.
And also, I'm with the local school council, Gale Community Academy School Council, and I'm vice chair over there as well. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a professor. I'm not any of that. I'm a community member, and I was elected and reelected at the Gale Community uh, School, and it's been great actually. And so I've had the opportunity over the past few years to really understand working with Principal Leal and the teachers and all of the students, and like with my work with the park advisory councils is all about the kids. That's
Yeah.
bar none straight. That's it. It's not about anything else but the kids going to school, or the kids in the park program, or the after school program. Um,
Mhm.
I think that's something that needs to be said. I'm not just collecting. I'm doing a lot, but I'm not just collecting titles or collecting groups to be a part of. Um, it all has its purpose. I'm learning so much from it, and I'm able to understand people better, and I'm able
Mhm.
to actually do positive things in the city.
I think that being well informed, as you talk about taking on a seat that is going to require so much activity, so much decision making, and help to inspire change across other wards, as you've stated here, is important. What are some of the things that you do that help to give you happy? What makes you happy? What makes you wake up you feeling beautiful in the morning? Who is Bill?
Interviews like this. I like doing interviews. Um, I love picking up Trudy from work, walking around our community. I love my dog. I love my dog. He was a lost dog. He was a
Mhm.
Rogers Park dog, and he was a lost dog. And they brought him into my Chamber of Commerce office when I was on Sheridan Road by the Leon Beach. And they said, well, you're the guy, you know everybody. Why don't we just keep this dog with you for a little bit? And I said, well, only for a day or two. And I loved the dog. We loved each other. I took him for walks and everything. It was great. I said, you don't bite me. All this stuff. He slept on my head. There's a couch in the back there. So I stayed in the chamber office while he was there so he wouldn't be alone. And I slept on the couch and he would like be around my head. It was so weird. I wake up and there's a dog on my head.
He wanted to make
So
sure you that you were for him and he was for you. It's a boy.
yeah, and we found the owner. We did find the owner, but he had a fiance out of the country, and he said, you know what, you guys get along so well. I said, well, listen, if you give me this dog, you have to understand it will be my dog. This will be my dog, and you may never see him again. So you take your time. I'll watch him, no problem. I'll watch him for another month. That's fine. But you make this decision intentionally,
Mm.
because this is how it's going to be. And I became friends with him, and he's seen the little guy since. But I just wanted to make sure there's no hard feelings, or there's no takebacks if you give someone a dog.
Oh yeah, it's hard to give up a pet once you fall in love with it. But
Yeah,
sometimes
and
you
I gave the dog to my dad, and then he passed away, and I got little Joe back.
Yeah, I want to talk about that for a moment. I don't want to just kind of gloss over it. You did lose your father. Uh, did your father impact your life to become the person you are in a way that made you kind of feel like, wow, this is who I have to live up to as a standard bearer? What was your relationship with like your dad, and what has his life meant to you?
Yeah, he was a great dad. He was a really great dad. And he really took care of me. He really did. He did. He was really good.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
he started a photography business because I like photography. I think he had the dog because he knew I liked the dog. He was that kind of guy. I didn't have a car. He was the guy who always picked me up to go to my grandma's for the holidays and for the birthdays. And he made sure I didn't say no.
Hmm.
He was the guy who was, he thought the card and with a gift and the wrapping was so important.
Hmm.
And he always says, "Oh, don't forget the card." It's just, he really did care. And he was a very good man. And that's what I got from him. Not his business really didn't do much. He volunteered basically. He didn't even register the business, but I love that he had it. And I told him I got to visit him before he passed away. I couldn't move from the bed, but I had to. And so I got into a car. I had my friend pick me up. It was like 2 weeks in, and I got to see him one last time.
Hmm.
And I was holding his hand, and I made a joke. I made one last joke, and he couldn't speak, and he had his eyes closed. And he just grunted a lot, and it didn't really move. But I held his hand. He gripped my hand, and I said, "You know what? You know what's funny? I'm in a nursing home too, and I'm 49. I'm only 49, and I'm in a nursing home too." And he smiled. So that was the last thing when I
That's
had to say goodbye.
what a beautiful story. We're going to take a quick break. Let Bill come back, have the last word. You're
Thank
such a
you.
treasure. You know, Zelda's right. We need more people like you. Let's take a quick break. Stay right in place before we leave with the beautiful human being, Bill Morton, and celebrating him, his life, and his aspirations. We'll be right back.
Have you seen all the solar farms popping up everywhere? You know, the big fields with the solar panels. There's one in our community. They produce electricity using the clean energy of the sun to send to the power grid to reduce our energy costs. Because not everybody can get solar panels put on their roof the way I have, but everybody can enroll for free to share the energy produced by the solar farms. That's why they were built. You know you're supposed to be getting a 10 to 20% savings on your bill for that, right? Illinois has a goal to transition by 2050 to 100% clean energy. So everybody needs to be connected. People in other communities are already getting their savings. So I'll be by to see you because they want to make sure you get your savings as well. It just takes a few minutes. I'm Naima Latif. Call me if you have any questions. 312-849-3456.
And I love that. I love that, the solar. I'd like to bring solar in. I think that we have such roof space everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and solar is becoming more affordable. I think
Yes.
that we should be doing
Well,
more of that.
I have it, and I have to tell you, it has saved a lot of money. A
And
lot
it
of
gets you off the grid. You
yeah,
know, the Illinois Commerce Commission doesn't want you to have solar, and neither does ComEd, because if you get more than you use, you could sell it back to them.
that's a whole other conversation. We're gonna have Dr. Latif back, and we can have that conversation. Let me give you a moment to just speak on who you are and why you think. Let me let you have a closing moment, and I'll come back and close out after you. Ladies and gentlemen, please, sisters, brothers, friends, family, community, Bill Morton.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Um, I'm so happy to be here. This is really great. I'm glad I got to speak on my dad. I'm not afraid to show emotion. I think it's an important part of life. And sometimes I wear my heart on my sleeve, but I don't see that as a bad thing. I really do care about the city of Chicago and what's happening here. I really do want to understand how things work and fix things. And I'm a connector, and I bring people together throughout all of my time with the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, maybe 15 years or so. And other things I've done, working at small businesses, at restaurants, and serving people. I've done a lot of things in my life, and they've all kind of helped me become who I am. And that's why I'm running for 49th Ward Alderman, so that I can actually listen to the people, keep the doors open, and make things happen. So your vote is your voice, and your vote is your choice. And I think that it's very important, especially when you have people in office, that some people get into office and they have this ego thing going on, or this bravado, or whatever you want to call it. You talk to them and they're looking up, and they're not listening. They're not listening to you at all. And I've seen this, and that's why I'm basing my campaign on listening.
So there we have it. Vote for Rogers Park, the upliftment, the new walk into the future, with better community, better facilities, better schools, better communication, a much more walkable neighborhood. Even though I go and walk in it and all I do is feel good, I think that Bill sees that it can be improved and made better, not for just those who visit, but for the people who live in that community. Thank you so much, Bill Morton, for being here with me today. I am uber impressed and just so humbled by your presence. You are more than what I thought I was experiencing in just having you come into my show. I thought it was very kind of you to show up as you have, always right there at 7 o'clock in the morning with us. And so thank you, and God bless you, and your father's life and his legacy lives strongly in you. Every wrapping paper, every piece of wrapping paper and the ribbon, you wear that proudly. And thank you so much for exposing me and others to the great human being you are. I look forward to your win and as alderman and all the other future things that you aspire to. Thank you for coming to Coffee Break with Senabella.
Thank you, Senabella.
You're so welcome. Well, folks, got to walk out on this, but I just want to thank everybody for showing up. I love each and every one of you who come in here. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share our video. Make sure that we get this subscription up so we can start improving, expanding great communication to others. I want to thank the Female Solution and Dr. Naima Latif for making it possible for me to be here and to share a bit of myself with you through this broadcast. You all have a great day. And I love each and every one of you. JJ, you put up a heart for me, but I'm going to say that's the heart for the world. All right, folks, we're out of here. Have a great day.
I want to wake up feeling beautiful. I want to wake up with the sunlight in my eyes and your arms surrounding me. I want to wake up feeling beautiful. That's how I wanna be. I wanna wake up with a song